Welcome to Context 101. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. On January 6, 2026, the United States stands at a historic crossroads, not over foreign policy, but over a fiercely debated constitutional question: the right to carry a firearm. This is not just a matter for politicians or legal scholars, it's a question that reaches into the heart of American identity, touching on freedom, safety, and the very meaning of citizenship. The nation finds itself divided, with passionate voices on all sides, as communities grapple with what it means to be both free and secure in a rapidly changing world. 36 states now allow permitless concealed carry, a dramatic shift that touches every community and redefines the Second Amendment in real time. In neighborhoods from coast to coast, the presence of firearms is no longer limited to law enforcement or those with special permits. Ordinary citizens now make daily decisions about whether to carry a weapon and how to navigate a society where the rules have changed almost overnight. This movement sets America apart from its global peers. While most developed nations are tightening gun control, the United States is moving in the opposite direction, embracing a vision of personal liberty that is both celebrated and feared. The world watches as America charts its own course, raising questions about public safety, individual rights, and the responsibilities of citizenship in a democracy. The debate is tangible, influencing daily life, law enforcement, and business operations. Police departments must adapt to new realities. Businesses weigh the risks and benefits of allowing firearms on their premises, and families reconsider what safety means in their communities. The impact is felt in schools, parks, and workplaces. As Americans navigate a landscape where the rules are still being written, we'll explore the history, legal battles, and passionate arguments on both sides of this issue. From landmark Supreme Court decisions to grassroots activism, the story of gun rights in America is one of conflict, compromise, and constant change. The voices in this debate are as diverse as the nation itself, reflecting deep convictions about liberty, justice, and the role of government. As we journey through this complex landscape, we'll hear from those whose lives have been shaped by these laws: victims, advocates, law enforcement, and everyday citizens. Our goal is to cut through the rhetoric and examine the real-world impacts of these laws. We'll look beyond headlines and political slogans to understand how permitless carry is changing the fabric of American society, one community at a time. What does it mean for a society when the legal framework around carrying firearms is fundamentally altered? As the nation stands at this pivotal moment, the choices made today will shape the future for generations to come. The U.S. map has been redrawn. What was once a patchwork of gun laws has shifted dramatically in just a few short years. The landscape of American firearm policy is almost unrecognizable compared to a decade ago, as state after state has moved to loosen restrictions and embrace permitless carry. Now, over 70% of states have adopted permitless carry, a milestone that would have seemed unlikely not long ago. This means that in most of the country, law-abiding citizens can carry firearms without the need for a government-issued permit, reflecting a profound shift in public attitudes and legislative priorities. In just 5 years, 16 states joined this movement, including 7 in 2026 alone. This rapid acceleration marks a tipping point in the national conversation, as more states align with the idea that the right to carry should not be restricted by permits or bureaucratic hurdles. The trend began quietly with Vermont, which never required permits, then spread to Alaska in 2003 and Arizona in 2010. For years, progress was slow, but recently, momentum has exploded, with state legislatures responding to growing calls for expanded gun rights and personal freedom. Recent court rulings, such as the Ninth Circuit's decision striking down California's open carry ban, have sent shockwaves through even the most restrictive states. These legal challenges highlight the mounting pressure on states with strict gun laws to reconsider their positions in light of changing national standards. The remaining 14 states, including major population centers like California and New York, now stand as isolated islands of restriction. Surrounded by a sea of permitless carry states, their policies are increasingly out of step with the national trend. These states continue to enforce strict permitting requirements, but their ability to maintain these laws is being challenged by both federal court decisions and shifting public opinion. The legal and political landscape is changing rapidly, making enforcement more difficult with each passing year. The legislative and judicial momentum is unmistakable. The map is being aggressively redrawn, and the pace of change shows no sign of slowing. Lawmakers and judges alike are shaping a new era in American gun policy. As the debate intensifies, a national battle now looms on the horizon, one that could ultimately make permitless carry the law of the land, transforming the rights and responsibilities of millions of Americans for generations to come. Constitutional carry, also known as permitless carry, has a long and evolving history in the United States. The concept dates back to the nation's founding, when most states did not require permits to carry firearms, either openly or concealed. Over time, as states introduced more regulations, the idea of permitless carry faded, until a resurgence in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Today, more and more states are returning to these roots, embracing constitutional carry as a reflection of Second Amendment rights. The 2020 Saubaditan Kuristolan Quadru by Kondodoxine, that Mayan Supreme Court decision in was a turning point. The court struck down New York's restrictive permit system, affirming the right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home. Justice Thomas's history and tradition test made subjective permitting systems untenable. The ruling emboldened legislatures, accelerating the adoption of permitless carry laws nationwide. States like Florida, Nebraska, Louisiana, and South Carolina passed such laws in the post-environment. The Bruin effect triggered the legislative tsunami we see today. The fight over gun rights and regulations has now reached the heart of the nation's capital. In Congress, lawmakers are fiercely debating the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, a bill that could fundamentally change how Americans carry firearms across state lines. This legislation aims to nationalize permitless carry, making it possible for gun owners to travel freely with their concealed weapons, regardless of the state they're in. If this act passes, every state would be required to recognize the concealed carry permits, or lack thereof, issued by every other state. This means that even states with the strictest gun control laws would have to honor the rights of gun owners from states with far more lenient regulations, effectively overriding local restrictions and creating a single national standard. For example, a gun owner from a permitless carry state could legally bring their concealed firearm into places like New York or California, states known for their tough gun laws, without having to meet any of the local requirements or undergo additional background checks. Supporters of the bill argue that this approach is just common sense. They compare it to how driver's licenses work. If you can drive in one state, you can drive in them all. They believe national reciprocity would protect law-abiding citizens and simplify a confusing patchwork of state laws. But opponents warn that it would undermine public safety, strip states of their ability to set their own standards, and erode local control over who can carry a gun. Critics are especially concerned that the law would force states to allow individuals they've already deemed too risky or dangerous to carry firearms. Local officials and law enforcement worry that their efforts to keep guns out of the wrong hands would be undone by a federal mandate. At its core, the debate is a clash between national Second Amendment rights and the principle of local control. It raises fundamental questions about federalism, states' rights, and the balance of power in American democracy. The bill's fate remains uncertain, with passionate advocates and determined opponents on both sides. If it passes, it would mark a decisive victory for gun rights supporters and set a new precedent for how gun laws are enforced nationwide. Whatever the outcome, the decision could reshape American gun policy for a generation, influencing not just laws, but the very fabric of how Americans view their rights and responsibilities. The core debate, individual liberty versus collective safety. Proponents say permitless carry removes barriers for law-abiding citizens and deters crime, especially in high-crime, low-income areas. They point to safe states with permitless carry as proof that more guns don't mean more crime. Opponents, including law enforcement and public health experts, warn that removing permits eliminates crucial safety checks and training. Studies show states with weaker permitting see significant increases in gun assaults and violent crime. Despite broad public support for permits, legislatures are moving in the opposite direction. The question remains, does more freedom mean more danger? For police, permitless carry complicates daily work. Many officers fear it makes it harder to distinguish between legal and illegal gun carriers, raising the risk of deadly encounters. Without permit databases, verifying who can legally carry becomes difficult. Some law enforcement, especially in rural areas, support the change, arguing it empowers citizens and doesn't stop criminals. Legal experts note that laws vary widely by state, creating confusion for both citizens and police. The USCCA warns gun owners. Ignorance of state laws is no defense. The patchwork of regulations means even well-intentioned citizens can run afoul of the law. The real-world impact is a more complex, unpredictable environment for everyone. Permitless carry has major economic effects. States lose millions in permit fees, shifting costs to law enforcement budgets. The firearms industry now focuses on accessories, training, and insurance for new carriers. Private firearms training is booming, as gun owners seek instruction, despite no legal mandate. Businesses must decide whether to allow guns on their premises, balancing customer preferences and safety concerns. The debate over gun-free zones is now a practical business issue. The economic ripple effects touch everything from state budgets to retail strategy. America is now defined by a new gun rights status quo. 36 states permitless, 14 holding out. The legal and cultural center has shifted, with the burden now on states to justify restrictions. The nation is more divided than ever, and the looming federal reciprocity fight may force a resolution. Data on public safety remains contested, with both sides citing studies to support their claims. Millions more Americans now carry firearms, making personal responsibility and voluntary training more important than ever. The debate over guns and safety is far from over. It's woven into the nation's DNA. The laws have changed, but the fundamental questions remain. How do we balance rights and responsibilities? Join the conversation. What do you think about this historic shift?